Y'all, this is the perfect example why you do not jump onto your public platform and talk about something when you don't know the ins and outs of it. In the recent episode of the Full Coverage podcast with Laura Lee and Manny MUA, they speak out on the Colleen Ballinger situation. And for those of you who are not aware, Manny himself has been getting a lot of heat. A lot of people have been commenting, asking him what his opinions are on the situation because of Manny's personal connection to Colleen. They have both collabed together in the past, and commenters always want to know how another influencer feels when someone they've collabed with comes out to be problematic or gets aired out in the way that Colleen has. I have been watching all of this unfold. I have been viewing, clipping, and processing so much when it comes to Colleen. And it's a lot. More and more continues to come out on a daily freaking basis, you guys. But I do find it ironic. All of these bigger influencers who were from the same era as Colleen have been dead ass silent up until the last several days. All it took was for one big influencer to say something, and it lit a fire for everyone to all of a sudden have so many opinions, and they're deciding to speak out on their very public platforms like their TikTok lives, podcasts, etc. And it's the same song and dance as always before. When something is a hot topic, then everyone can talk about it. But they can know about it for weeks, and if no one's speaking out, they ain't gonna be the first one to do it because they don't want the heat on them. They don't want the drama on them. And I do get it. I've been there. I've done that. I know how it feels to throw yourself in the line of fire for absolutely no reason. But in a situation like this, where it's a friend of yours or someone you've collabed with in the past being exposed for extremely inappropriate mannerisms with children, how hard is it to say that you don't support that or agree with it? Why do you have to wait for so many other influencers to come out and say it first before you then decide to stand against it and say, I don't support this? And that's not limited to this. That's a question I've had across the board because, like I said, this isn't the first time it has happened where we see a lot of influencers all at once coming out with their thoughts and opinions on a situation. And I also want to say I adore Manny and Laura Lee. Like, both of them are two of my favorite beauty influencers, but this particular podcast episode just was not it, sis. You could tell they have no clue what the heck they're talking about. They did zero research, and in my personal opinion, it does very much feel like the only reason they decided to discuss it is because they are getting a little bit of backlash on the situation. So we're going to listen to a couple of clips, y'all, and I'm going to clarify to the best of my knowledge on what I know when it comes to the situation with Colleen Ballinger. I'm in no way trying to say that I'm an expert on this topic because I definitely am not, but I can assure you I can do a lot more justice and clarify a lot more than what Manny and Laura did in the 12 minutes that they discussed it on this podcast. In my personal opinion, this episode did more harm than good because it deminimizes what Colleen has done. The way Laura and Manny both were like, I don't even know what the big deal is. That's not okay. It would have took them 10 minutes to do a little bit of research on the topic, and just talking about the way she treated her minor supporters in these group chats, which many of them made sure to say that they were aware of that alone, they could have spent 12 to 30 minutes, probably longer, talking about how inappropriate that is and stuck to what they knew instead of deminimizing it the way they did. And again, everything in this video is just my personal opinions. This is not going to be put together like most of my videos. I'm just kind of ranting, to be honest with you guys. And I would share the full podcast with you so that you could see it for your own context. But when I went back to actually get the link and be able to source it in this video, y'all, I could not find the episode anywhere. So if you guys was to run across it, feel free to share it in the comment section down below. I don't know if they deleted the episode or unlisted it. I don't know what happened. Maybe it's a mishap or a glitch on my end. Y'all let me know in the comments, but without any further ado, let's get into it.
Anytime anyone is successful, I automatically don't know them, but if they're in hot water by any means, suddenly I was their best friend and held their hand through the journey. And I'm like, why do y'all do that to me?
I don't even know truly like what to say about it, because at the end of the day, the thing that happened with Adam, this was years ago, right? Colleen talked about that. She made a video about it and she apologized, I believe, and she like handled the whole situation. Now it's getting rehashed and re-brought back up in different, there's more layers to it, there's more people involved with it, and there's different things going on. But I'm confused at what about that situation has changed now.
I did see some people say, well, she started a podcast with Trisha. But I'm like, what does that have to do
with this?
But the reason all of this got reignited is because of someone by the name of Cody Tyler. At this point, she has ran from the internet. She has taken her videos down. But a couple of weeks ago, she made a video exposing Colleen and showing that Colleen was working with her and others behind the scenes to try to take Adam down. Colleen did not want her hands to be dirty, so she used other people, especially Cody Tyler, to do her dirty work. And we've seen proof of that now. So that is initially what reignited all of this, if you will. Since then, of course, we've seen more and more people coming out from the Colleen fandom, the Weenies group, sharing their own stories of things Colleen has said to them or put them up to doing when they were minors. And we're not just talking about like 17, 18. We're talking about children, you guys. And the fact that nothing ever clicked in Colleen's head to tell her that this is not okay and she most definitely should not have been talking to children the way that she was. As a woman who I believe this started in her late 20s and carried on into her 30s, that is absolutely disgusting and just bizarre to me. And we're not talking about just one instance or one example where she messed up and got a little bit too personal with a fan. We're talking about so many people at this point have came out with proof and receipts that Colleen was using them as weapons to do her dirty work, to go after other people she didn't like, to spy on her ex, talking about very personal and sexual things with these children. And again, it doesn't take but 10 minutes of research to know that much about this situation. But neither Laura or Manny focuses on any of that. Aside from saying that these text messages were inappropriate, they keep it very surface level. They literally spent the majority of this podcast making sure that people know that they are not friends with Colleen. They don't know anything about this situation. And my personal favorite is it's not their responsibility to have to answer for Colleen's behavior and mannerisms. And I agree. Nobody is trying to hold anyone accountable for anything. People just want to know what you think about it, especially with Manny having these personal connections to Colleen and the fact that you guys have a drama podcast. You talk about the drama, you talk about hot topics. Of course, people are going to want to hear your thoughts and opinions when it comes to this topic because it's a large topic of conversation right now.
At the end of the day, like the messages, they're strange.
They are strange.
They're very weird.
They're very weird.
I'm not going to lie. So I can just look at those and be like, I'm going to defend her. Like a lot of those messages are weird. You know, that's just truly what the tea is. Like I look at those messages and I'm like, that's not appropriate to say, like very strange. But when you're thinking about it, like I was thinking in the way, like maybe the parasocial relationship got to a different level with her. And I think that as a creator, maybe there was just like some confusion and, you know, maybe she really thought she was friends with these people. And I have collabed with Colleen. I have known Colleen. We're not like, you know, good friends. I haven't spoke to her in years.
When's the last time you guys spoke?
Years ago.
Okay.
I would say I haven't spoke to Colleen in years, actively years. So, for me, people tag me in things and they're like, oh, you're bestie Colleen. I'm like, babe, I haven't spoken to Colleen in years. Like, we're not close. I do care about her as a person, you know, on a human level. You know, I hope that she's doing okay. And in this situation, like, I do feel like because she has spoken about it and she's apologized for it, I'm just confused as to why it's been brought back up.
It's like the same situation.
When it's the same situation.
Like, are there new developments in it?
I think that maybe back in the day, Adam was getting shit on for it.
That's what I didn't understand. Now, why was Adam getting shit for it whenever he had shown?
And he shared what had happened.
I don't know what all was said between him and her and Adam.
Me neither. No, he was just basically saying like, you know what? This was inappropriate.
Okay.
This relationship in general was inappropriate. It's not cool. He spoke his piece. And I think a lot of people were not on his side about it.
Got it.
Clearly, Manny and Laura had no clue what they were talking about. And you know, that's okay. The confusing part here is why the heck you would talk about it if you don't even know what you're talking about. If you felt the need to do so on your very public and very large platform, you would think they would just look into what the heck they were talking about just a smidge. When Adam came out and spoke on this over 3 years ago now and discussed the highly inappropriate parasocial relationship relationship that he had with Colleen as a child. I never doubted him. He showed more than enough proof for me to see that there was something not clicking with Colleen Ballinger. And to be completely honest with you guys, I was never a fan of the Miranda Sings character. I always thought the character itself was very strange. The jokes were stale. They didn't make a lot of sense. She was obnoxious and rude and loud, and I didn't find anything about it funny. I don't know. I just never got the whole lore of Miranda Sings. It wasn't until I found her vlogs channel that I even realized, like, oh, there's an actual person behind this who seems to appear to be rather normal, and she's a mom and she vlogs, and I did enjoy that content from her. However, she had a very large fandom. And a lot of people really enjoyed the Miranda Sings character. So when Adam spoke out on this situation over 3 years ago, quite a few people spoke out against him, especially those from the drama/commentary community. They were stating that he was a liar and he was just trying to clout chase and get attention off of Colleen's name. And that's the narrative that was put out there for many to see. And essentially, it did silence Adam. He tried to talk about it a few times, I remember, and then he moved on to other topics. For me, I think the saddest part about all of this is Adam never asked for any of this stuff to be outed or to be dredged back up. Cody did that herself, trying to get vindication against Colleen. And what really happened is that it vindicated Adam and other members who are now speaking out, sharing of their own personal experiences with Colleen. And my heart goes out to Adam because he's having to relive all of this stuff that he never wanted to be outed is being put out there. And it all paints a horrible picture for Colleen, but it's also a lot to have to relive. And I can't imagine the trauma from it all either. Adam was basically backed into a corner and told, you're either going to talk about all of this now that people are listening, or you're going to stay silent while it all implodes around you. He never asked for any of this stuff to be dredged back up, nor did he want it to, especially after the response he got from his initial video on the matter. But the truth always prevails, you guys, and that is what we're seeing happening here. And where's Colleen at now that she can't hop onto her platform and try to play the good guy and be passive aggressive, gaslighty AF, and point fingers at everyone else? Now that nobody's behind the scenes doing her dirty work for her, at least to our knowledge, she's nowhere to be found. And I don't know about you guys, but her silence is deafening.
And I think that this is something where like she can address it again. When you are put into situations like this that get brought back up for something in the past, this is kind of something that you would apologize for again. And if it gets brought back up and new developments, like, you know, I think it's one of those things where you swallow your pride.
Yeah.
And you be like, you know what? It wasn't appropriate. I fucked up and I'm sorry for it.
Right.
And then you move on. And
Right.
people that love you and care for you and understand where you were coming from will move on with you. At the end of the day, like, she's not going to just crawl into a hole and never upload again or never do anything ever again. She has to move forward in some capacity.
Yeah.
I gotta be honest with you guys. I don't think that this is a thing where she can just come on and apologize like she did before and people will move on, because the quote unquote new developments, like they keep saying, is a lot. And it doesn't just involve Colleen at this point, but other members of the family and her friends as well. The way that they all benefited from Colleen's fandom is purely disgusting. And I'm not a lawyer or anything like that, but I believe there may actually be some legal grounds here. This is only the beginning. I firmly believe that more and more stuff is going to come out and be outed. And I truly believe that that is why Colleen is going to go run and hide in a hole somewhere and not acknowledge it. Because at the end of the day, only Colleen and the other family members and friends who participated in these mannerisms and behaviors know how bad it really gets. I truly feel like Manny and Laura could have made a post or maybe even just a public statement at the beginning of the podcast stating that they do not know the ins and outs of this, but that they support Adam and the other members of these group chats who are speaking out, and they do not stand with Colleen and the things that she's done. Instead of going on and on talking about how they don't really want to talk about it and they don't know anything about it and minimizing the whole situation. But I want to know what you guys think. Do you think that they missed a mark, or did you actually enjoy this podcast episode? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Also, before you go, please consider hitting that like button, subscribing, and tapping the bell. That way you're notified of all of my future content. I appreciate you all to the moon and stars, and until my next one, mwah. Bye guys.
Sometimes I feel like commenters, because it's not everybody, it's just certain commenters like to pull in other influencers to all the different dramas that are happening to kind of ignite it more. And sometimes people's behavior is their choices and they don't reflect on every single person. So it is their job to speak on it. It's Colleen's job to speak on this one.